Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you one of the simplest methods to release unnecessary excessive tension from your body. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you always know when I release a new video. You can find more videos on tension release in my playlist, Let Go, so don't forget to check it out. There are many reasons why we all hold that unnecessary tension in our bodies. So it could be something that you learned or trained yourself to do. An example would be always sit straight, pull your shoulders down, or something like always trying to suck the belly in so that you look slimmer. It could be also something that happened as a result of an injury or sometimes emotional trauma. It's called armoring, this kind of protective holding patterns. An example of that would be if you had your shoulder injured and any movement was causing you pain. You learn to tense up everything around that area so that nothing moves, so that it gets immobilized and you avoid pain. But what can happen over time is that the injury is long time healed and you are still holding the same tension without realizing it. It has become this completely unconscious pattern. And last but definitely not least, every time your nervous system gets into that stress response, that so-called fight and flight, your body gets ready for action. It gets ready to either run away or physically confront the danger. And that obviously means that your muscles tense up in anticipation for that action. But nowadays, most of the time, the reason for that stress response to kick in has nothing to do with a physical danger. It's all in your head, right? It might be that you're worrying about the outcome of your exam, or that you're mulling over the thoughts about your divorce or anything. And obviously, that means that this tension doesn't get a chance to be released because there is nothing physical that you would do about it. So, if you would like to know a little bit more about the chronic tension, stress, pain, and how you could deal with it, then I would like to invite you to my free workshop, 2-hour long workshop called Heal from Within Intro. It's happening on 15th of June, and you can sign up for it in the description below. But for today, I will show you one of the easiest ways that you can deal with releasing tension. And that is purposefully create that tension in your body so that you really notice it because it's so excessive, and then equally purposefully release it. And like this, you really can see the difference. So if you're ready, let's begin. You might want to get seated comfortably for the first part. It could be on the chair, it could be on something higher. And then for the second part, you can prepare a blanket or 2 cushions, or potentially 3 cushions or 2 blankets, just so that you know you're going to be in a comfortable position. So grab something comfortable to sit on. Maybe move a little bit, just so that you can settle well. You could Move your pelvis and spine a couple of times so that you end up somewhere where you can really ground through whatever you sit on, through that contact with whatever is underneath you, and find a little bit more spaciousness in the upper body. Okay, once you've got that, let's just try something really simple that you can do anytime and actually many times a day, especially if you're sitting at a desk in front of the computer in this sort of position with your head moving forward and very probably also with some rounding in your upper body. So you're going to purposefully create a lot of tension in your shoulders, in your chest, and in your neck. Hold it for some time, and then rather than what you might be used to, drop it very quickly, you're going to let it release gradually on its own and not try to do something really opposite and push your shoulders down or pull them down. As again, this might be something that happens for you naturally, but rather let everything settle wherever it wants to settle at the moment. So let me show it to you. The inhalation might be that moment when you create tension. That means shoulders come up towards the ears. There is this shortness, this tightness in the front of the chest. There is tightness at the back and sides of the neck. Everything feels pretty uncomfortable just because it's so much over the top. But it might be something you're doing to much lesser extent without realizing. So you stay with that for a while, obviously still breathing. And then eventually on the exhalation, let it undo. So it's no pulling down, no pushing down. You're just letting it all undo and settle wherever it wants to settle. Even if you think that it's not, perfectly straight or not completely open, it's irrelevant. You just let it sink wherever it wants to drop for that moment. And notice what is the difference. And you can try it again. Create that extreme tension in the sides of the neck, back of the neck, in the shoulders, in the front of the chest. And then on the exhalation, let it undo itself and settle wherever it wants to settle. And it might be that this is enough to feel the difference and to realize that you were really holding tension in the area of the neck and shoulders, which is really very common. In fact, it's quite difficult to escape it those days. That's why it's so important to be aware of it, to constantly keep catching yourself doing it. Okay, and then another area that very often where you hold the tension very often is the jaws. So first, you can create that extra tension everywhere in the facial muscles. It might be a big frown, because that's another thing that happens quite often. And definitely that clenching of the jaws, like a really kind of ugly face. And then you let it gradually release and melt. So there's that extra tension. And then it's the exhale itself that softens and releases everything. You might also notice where your tongue was landing. And sometimes you feel like you're pressing your tongue constantly to the upper palate. And just check what happens when your tongue rests to the floor of the mouth. So that's another little thing you could keep on checking throughout the day. The next thing I'm going to show you requires you to lie down. So maybe it's a good idea to do it after the whole day of work. So first you can make your way down, making sure that you already have your props somewhere near you because you might need them. And what happens quite often is that we tend to be really stiff and rigid even as we lie down, supposedly to relax. So I see it so often with my students. I tell them to lie down and they would go like this and lie in a very tense and stiff way on the ground where it's quite visible that the body is not relaxed at all. So I often would encourage you to begin with moving a little bit on the ground so that you can ease into it, so that your body can get used to this idea that now there's all that support from the earth below. And that means that all that holding in the torso, in the back, maybe in the pelvis, in the belly, is actually not necessary anymore because you are being held by the support underneath. And it's sometimes easy to forget it. So you're giving your body a chance to notice that support. And at the same time, find a way to ease yourself into it, find a way to make that lying down really comfortable for yourself. Another thing is that lying completely flat with your legs extended for majority of people is not comfortable. So here are a few things that you want to watch out for. If you're lying on your back and you feel that your chin is pointing up to the ceiling and there is no way you can ease the back of the head to the ground, then I don't really see the point to stay in this contracted position. So instead, you can get yourself a blanket, better blanket, because most of the pillows will be too high, and place it so that the neck can be free and the head is supported. So what you want to find is that there is spaciousness in the neck and there is the full support for the weight of the head, but your neck is in a neutral position. So if you would get, let's say, a higher pillow, what could happen, and again, that's something that you might be used to and not even notice that, you would be in a position that creates other source of tension, where your chin would be more towards the chest and the neck would not be in a neutral position. So it might be that lying flat on the ground gives you that sense of release and comfort in the head. And then you don't need any extra props. If that's not the case, use the blanket. And another thing I would definitely suggest is that if you are extending your legs, and it's useful to do it gradually, slowly. So if you extend your legs and you notice that as a result, everything gets pulled, and very often you start feeling like, this is not really that comfortable for my back, or maybe for the sacrum, or maybe even there's a lot of pulling in the front of the body. Again, there is no point to suffer. You really want to be comfortable here. So what you could instead is to place a folded blanket or two cushions underneath your thighs. Nothing else, as you might often see, or you might have heard before, underneath the thighs, and that takes all the weight of the legs. It allows you to sink all the weight of your legs into the ground. So in my case, I like to have my thighs supported and I don't really need my head supported, but for you might be exactly the other way around, or you might want to have support underneath both. You know, it's really about how your body feels in this position. All right, so once we've got that, you can also experiment a little bit with how you habitually place your arms. And it might be that if they're like kind of close to the body, everything is again a little bit constricted. So notice where those arms can land away from the body so that you find a little bit of space along the collarbones or in the front of the shoulders. Okay. So once you're here, I would invite you to have a couple of maybe slightly deeper breaths. And every exhalation might be like a little opportunity to sink a tiny bit deeper. Not because you're forcing your body to do that, but because you're inviting it to do it. And there's that space for softness and heaviness. So you could even imagine that your body is sinking into the earth as if you were lying on the sand or in the soft soil. Or in the soft grass. And sometimes that might be again enough to find a little bit of release. But what works really well is to create quite purposeful tension in one part of the body, hold that tension for a while, and then allow it to release it with the gravity down to the earth. So you could begin that with the leg. You could engage all the muscles in your leg by pressing that leg into the ground. It works even if you have something underneath the thigh. You don't need to worry about that too much. So you could press down with your heel. You could press down through the calf if it touches the ground, through your thigh. And maybe there will be also some engagement in the buttock, and see if you can do it just one-sided. So you will notice that there will be this tendency to tense up many other parts of the body at the same time. And we're going to try to isolate the leg only. So the toes are relaxed, the belly is relaxed, the other leg is relaxed, and just that one is tensing. And then you can let it release. And it's as if you're giving all that weight of that entire leg together with that side of the pelvis and the hip into the ground and into those supports underneath. So that's why it's important to have the support underneath the thigh. If your thigh barely touches the mat, which can happen depending on how you're built, your body proportions, and so on, you won't be having that opportunity for that full sinking to happen. All right. Sometimes one time is not enough, so feel free to do it 1, 2, even 3 times, that full engagement for a moment, and then exhalation is always the release. Exhalation kind of enhances and helps you to release. And you might want to continue with just that one side of the body. So you might press that buttock into the ground now, just on that one side. Just finding it may be funny if the other one wants to turn on. And if there's no way you can control it, it doesn't matter. It's just something to observe. Then you can release it. You might feel like pressing also tensing the muscles in your arm. So you might create a fist with your hands. You might press that arm into the ground, and together with the shoulder blade again, you will notice that the other arm wants to do the same. See if you can keep it on this side only. Press it in, and then release. Maybe your leg wanted to do that as well. See how much you can isolate just that one arm without the other arm engaged, without the leg engaged, without your face engaged into that process. And then release. And it might already make you feel like, that's interesting. That right side of the body is already resting differently on the ground than the other side. So stay with that sensation for a moment. And then let's try to even it out a little bit. So the same on the other side. You might start with pressing the heel of the other leg, the calf, the thigh, into the ground. So that whole leg is engaged. The one that is on holiday is still on holiday. So we're working now only on that other leg. Yeah, so it stands on while the belly is relaxed as much as it can be. It might be quite hard to isolate in the beginning. So just notice what is possible for the moment. That one leg is pressing down, and then you can let it release. So you see the difference in how your leg is resting, supposedly resting on the ground, and how much more it can rest after that engagement and release. That's how you recognize that there was some holding before. You can try that again if you want. Engaging first, just that one leg, and then releasing. Perhaps there is more sense of even out sensation now on both sides. And you could also engage the buttock, just that other buttock, keeping the one you started with relaxed as much as is possible for now. And then you release it. And then let's go to the arm and shoulder. So the fist, arm tense, and press with that arm into the ground, including the shoulder blade, checking if it's possible, and it might be actually quite hard, if it's possible to keep that other side of the body quiet, your leg quiet on the same side that you're working on. How much that arm can do without other parts of the body immediately turning on to support it. And then you can release it. So there might be more sense of evenness on right and left side of the body by now. Let's just try how it would be to press your lower back into the ground and press your whole back into the ground. And then how much you can release it. And how it would be to press the back of the head into the mat, or if you're on the blanket, that would be into the blanket. So press it in, keeping the rest of the body relaxed, it's only the head pressing in, and then you can release it. So you might notice that one time is not enough for you to feel that difference. So you could easily repeat that a couple of times with each body part. But perhaps already now there is some sense of softening. Another thing that can happen is being with your legs outstretched in this kind of really open position creates that pattern of emotional armoring, like you're feeling a bit too exposed to fully relax, having all your internal organs, in a very vulnerable position. What happens in these cases, what is quite helpful, is to place something over your belly and over your chest. And even when it's heavier, sometimes it's even better. So you might even go for something like a really heavier pillow over your belly, and that might be settling you more. So that might be something that allows you to soften more that front of the body. Maybe it's a bit your logic, how placing something heavy on you can relax you. But this is grounding. It does help. So it often helps. You have to check it for yourself, of course, but very often placing something over your pelvis, over your belly, over your chest gives you that extra layer of melting and will help you to release a little bit more to the ground. So it might be that just after doing it for quite a short time, you will notice that your body rests differently on the ground. And some parts of the body that you were tensing up unconsciously now released. Or released somewhat. It's not necessarily it's going to happen all at once. So every little release matters in this case. And the breath helps too, those longer, deeper exhales. Sometimes you might feel like yawning or sighing or exhaling in a really loud way. That's all good signs. This is the sign that your nervous system starts switching from that fight and flight into rest and restore. That's where you want to be. That's where you can let go of that excessive tension. And feel free to stay here for as long as you want. Sometimes it does take time for this process to happen. That long exhale and that visualization of sinking deeper and deeper into the ground. So yeah, I don't want to deprive you of this joy, but I will stop here. So also when you're coming out, if you decide to finish together with me, take it easy. Again, ask your body what it wants to do. After being in a stillness for a while, it might feel like moving a little bit or a lot. And give it this opportunity. Always stay for quite a while in some comfortable kind of curled up, really cozy shape for a while before you make your way up. So I hope that you found this video useful and that you can feel the difference in your body as you came up to the upright position. And if you did find it useful, please don't forget to hit the like and to subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to try more of it, experience a longer time where I guide you through this kind of tension release techniques, then join my workshop, Heal from Within Intro. It will be taught live on Saturday, 15th of June. But you can always watch the recording if you sign up for this event. So you will find the link to the event in the description below. One of the participants said that it has opened the doors to her body's inner world. So if that sounds like something you would like to experience, then please join me in this event. Have a lovely day and I'll see you soon. Thank you.